You ever wonder how a wildly complex tech idea gets sold for millions of dollars? It's not just about the code, right? It's about the story. So today, we're going to deconstruct a pitch to see exactly how a compelling narrative turns a super complex idea into a big yes from investors. Let's dive into this masterclass in storytelling.
You know, every great story starts with a conflict. And a great pitch? Well, it's really no different. It has to hook you with a central problem that feels both urgent and, honestly, almost impossible to solve. For businesses today, that problem is this very question. Do you unlock the incredible power of your data with AI, or do you lock it all down to protect privacy? It's a choice that nobody wants to make.
So every great pitch, it starts by making the audience feel the problem. Let's take a look at why this choice between data power and privacy is so painful, and why the way things are right now is just, well, it's not going to work long-term for so many companies. Now, what's really interesting here is how they frame the issue. It's a false choice. See, on one hand, you've got the immense power of AI, and it needs data to work. But on the other hand, you've got data privacy, which is absolutely non-negotiable for trust and, not getting sued. The core problem, that exposure risk you see down at the bottom, is that to use your data for AI, you usually have to decrypt it, which just opens you up to massive risk. And this isn't some abstract problem. The stakes here are incredibly high. We're talking about failing to comply with regulations like HIPAA and GDPR, which come with just crippling fines. There's the constant cyber risk. And then there's this thing this source calls the collaboration wall. I mean, think about it. Banks that can't share fraud data to catch criminals because it's just too risky. So the crucial point is, avoiding this risk has a huge financial and reputational cost. So after you establish this impossible problem, the pitch brings in its hero, the elegant, almost magical solution. And in this case, it's a technology that promises to completely get rid of that false choice between power and privacy. And that magic actually has a name: homomorphic encryption, or HE. To put it simply, it's a type of encryption that lets you do calculations, like running an AI model, directly on data that is still totally locked up and secure. The data never has to be decrypted to be used. I mean, this is a complete game changer. And this is just a brilliant way to explain how it works. Think of it like a magic locked glove box. You can put your sensitive stuff inside, lock it, and then work on it with your hands in the gloves without ever actually opening the box. Your sensitive data goes into this locked box, the AI does its thing on the locked box, valuable insights come out, and the raw data itself is never ever exposed. It's so simple but incredibly powerful. But here's the thing. For an investor, a clever solution just isn't enough. They need to see a defense, a moat that's going to protect the business from all the competitors. So this next part is all about turning a really good idea into a great investment. Okay, so here's the first part of that moat. Homomorphic encryption has always had this one big problem. It's been very, very slow. What this company is claiming is a special sauce that makes it 10 to 100 times faster. Now, that's not just a small improvement. That is what makes this practical for real-time stuff. You combine that with being hardware agnostic and having built-in security, and suddenly you've got a serious technical edge. Now, here's the second part of the moat, and honestly, it might be even more powerful. You know what a network effect is, right? A service gets more valuable the more people use it. Well, this platform does that with data. By letting companies safely pool their encrypted info, it creates what they call a cryptographically enforced network effect, basically a moat that gets wider and deeper with every single new customer. All right, so we've got an impossible problem, a magic solution, and a strong moat. That's a great start. But now we get to the really crucial part of the story, turning all that code into cash. Let's follow the money and see what the business strategy is. You can have the greatest technology in the world, but you need a smart go-to-market strategy. So instead of trying to sell to everybody, the plan here is to target regulated industries first. We're talking finance, healthcare, and industrial IoT. And why there? Well, because that's where the pain of data privacy is the worst, and it's where customers are most willing to pay for a real solution. And here it is, the proof that the plan is actually working. $1.5 million in annual recurring revenue. This isn't some dream on a whiteboard anymore. This is a real product that real customers are already paying for. This single slide, this one number, provides crucial validation for everything that's come before it. And that initial traction, that's just the beginning. The pitch then lays out this ambitious but totally defensible growth plan, showing how that first $1.5 million is the launchpad for a much, much bigger business.
This slide is basically telling investors, this is the scale of the opportunity you are buying into.
So now we've reached the climax of the whole story, the ask. This is that moment of truth where the founders look investors in the eye and tell them exactly what they need to make that big growth plan a reality.
And they don't just ask for the money, they show precisely how it's going to be spent. 40% of it goes to making that technology moat even deeper. 35% goes to sales to execute that go-to-market plan. And the rest of it goes to scaling operations to support the whole shebang. Every single dollar is connected directly back to the story they've just told.
And finally, you has to end with a powerful, memorable vision statement that just boils the entire pitch down into a single sentence. See, it's not just about encryption, it's about enabling the future. This is the line you want investors repeating in their heads long after the meeting is over.
And that brings us to the end of our deconstruction. It's just a powerful reminder that behind every groundbreaking technology is a really compelling story, one that's designed to turn skepticism into belief. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other challenges that seem impossible today are just one great pitch away from being solved?